What I'm about to tell you, you more than likely already know, and that is a couple top foods or food items to avoid to help prevent disease and even cancer. It's interesting to me how brainwashed and how convinced we are as people that the major industries care about our health, but in actuality, they don't care about our health. As a matter of fact, if they did care about our health, then we wouldn't have toxic ingredients in our foods. Stands to reason. Doesn't that make sense to you? But this machine called the food industry, uh, all of these manufacturers of food and food type items, food stuff we call it as well, what they really and truly care about is the bottom line, we say in retail. The money. How much money they can pull in billions and billions of dollars. And at whose expense? At whose detriment are they pulling in this money? Yours and mine, the consumer, the person that uses their goods. In this case, food goods. Did you not know that food is supposed to be nutritional, provide all of the necessary elements to maintain and prolong our lives, our physiology, as long as possible? It's not supposed to hurt us. It's not supposed to injure us. It's not supposed to be something that's going to cause a disease down the road as we get older. But it does. And it has. And it has done so for quite some time. Two things. There's many things I could possibly mention, but two things we have to get rid of in our diets. And that's number one I'm mentioning is sugar. Sugar. Cane sugar. Refined sugar. Refined means that it's not in its natural state, such as fruit has a sugar called fructose. That's a natural sugar. And cane or sugar cane is a natural sugar also. But white sugar, granulated sugar, refined sugar, comes from sugar cane. But it is extremely carcinogenic, cancer causing. It is one of the culprits of disease and cancer. Diabetes. It helps you to get it. Yes. That's one thing that you need to try to take control over is your intake of sugar. And thanks to the food industry, virtually everything that you buy in the grocery store that's packaged has sugar in it. Bread. Of course, you already know sugar cake, pies, ice cream, and so forth. That has sugar in it. High fructose corn syrup as well, which is another culprit. But things that you would think don't have sugar in them does. Like I said, bread. Your bagels have sugar. And if they don't have sugar, they have sugar added to them in some form or another. Ketchup, barbecue sauce, mustard, mayonnaise, condiments, period, have sugar. How much sugar does it take? You know? Sometimes it might even be subtle, but it's still sugar, just the same. And when done in volume, it builds up in your system over time, and it creates havoc in your body. So I've mentioned sugar as being one of those things we need to monitor and or remove completely if possible. You can do it if you really want to, but the question is, have we been trained so well that the industry just makes it so delectable and so irresistible that we don't want to stop eating those favorite things? But guess what? By eating those favorite things over time, there's a cost, there's a price to pay. One of those is called insulin resistance and diabetes. You can go blind from diabetes. You can lose your toes, your foot, your leg, lose your kidney function, and then you can ultimately die as a result. Guess what? I know people who have personally from diabetes. So think about it. And the other food or food type thing is just simply called refined processed foods, ultra processed foods. Now, I'm going to hit you with one that you probably don't want to accept. Deli meats are processed. Now, I'll say this. I love to eat sandwiches from time to time. A hot dog from time to time, just from convenience. From a convenience standpoint, I love what we call a cold cut sandwich or a sandwich meat type of sandwich with deli turkey or beef bologna. I don't eat pork, but those foods there are processed, highly saturated with, guess what, sodium and even sugar and other things. You can't find bologna on an animal. You can't find a hot dog on an animal as well. So these are the scraps that's left behind in the slaughterhouses, ground up, added full of sodium and other preservatives, sugar and other things to give them flavor. In other words, these meat producing companies, food manufacturers, note that I said manufacturers, they're making food or some type of food made with some portion of real food, but there's a whole lot of other things added to those things as well. And we are going to receive the benefit or lack of benefit of that product. So whatever tastes good, people have a tendency to go for or buy, consume, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for us. And the food industries have no moral values whatsoever as it relates to the consumers. No matter how good their commercials look, what they tout in their ads, you get this benefit, that benefit, and it tastes this way or that way. We've been around for this many years. None of that stuff matters if your health does not matter to them. In actuality, what matters to them is prolonging their wealth, taking care of their home base with it, which is their families, but it's not your families that's taken into consideration. So, in other words, I've said this before, it's more important to them to make sure that their home base or their home, their family, and their wealth is going to exist in perpetuity, forever. And they don't care about anyone else. They don't care about collateral damage as a result of people consuming their products. I don't care how much we boycott, how much we argue and complain. They'll modify their product just a little bit, but they're going to continue to produce it. And we are going to be what? The guinea pigs, so to speak. The experiments, so to speak. And that's going to turn us over then to the doctors, And ultimately, we're going to end up with the mortician having the last say so about our final remains. I'm sorry, but it's just simply the way it is. So the top two things that I just mentioned to you again to avoid using is sugar. That's one again, and the other one is processed foods. Processed foods. Now, if you don't know what else to do in opposition to what I just showed you, what you shouldn't consume, shame on you. But for those who just need a little bit of help, what you need to do is eat things, consume things that are more wholesome or complete and natural from nature, as opposed to those things where they use some of those natural things, but everything else that's added to it is unnatural. And later on, we have to deal with the consequences of consuming those things, or somewhat like food, but not totally food. If you have any questions, please ask me. I have no issue in answering your questions. And if I don't know the answer, you had better believe I've researched it somewhere and it's in my archives, and I'll pull it out for you. That's it. And that's all. Look forward to the next videos. This is Brother Teacher. I'm out.